Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:01. This meeting is being broadcast live on BNC TV and live streamed on YouTube. To find BNC TV on YouTube, go to youtube.com and search for Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. This meeting will be available for later viewing by following the link at townofbernardston.org. You can also watch channel 1075 on your Comcast dial in Bernardston. First order of business is the warrants. I would entertain a motion for the payroll warrant in the amount of $48,261.50.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion for the vendor warrant in the amount of $37,907.23.
So moved. Second.
The discussion here is that at the annual town meeting, we identified a number of invoices that were missed and fell through the cracks, and we're voting to approve those this evening. So we'll take a vote.
Prior year.
Prior year,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sorry, correction, thank you.
Gotta keep you honest.
I'm always honest. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion for the regular meeting minutes of May 15th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, any corrections? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I would entertain a motion for the special meeting minutes of May 15th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, those are the special meeting had to do with the a joint meeting with the Fire Department Building Committee. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Calendar and announcements. There will be a Board of Assessors meeting on Thursday, May 30th at 3:15 p.m. in the Town Hall. There will be a Recreation Commission meeting for summer sports and summer camp sign-up at Town Hall on Friday, May 31st from 5 to 7 p.m. So all those interested in the summer programs offered by the Rec Department, come sign up May 31st at Town Hall between 5 and 7. There will be a Bernardston Senior Center open house on Friday, May 31st and Saturday, June 1st. So back-to-back days. That's this weekend coming up. Please stop by our open house, sign up for membership, and learn all about the Senior Center programs and services. Details about the event are posted on the town website homepage. There will be the first annual 5K Hop, which is a 5K race or walk that originates at the Pratt Field. On Saturday, June 8th at 9 a.m. is the kickoff. Registration details are available at the town website at townofbernardston.org. More announcements. There will be a 3-town joint meeting with the select boards and finance committees representing the towns of Bernardston, Leyden, and Northfield on Thursday, June 13th at 6:30 p.m. at our Bernardston Senior Center. There will be a Board of Health meeting on Thursday, June 6th at 3:30 p.m. at the Town Hall. And the last announcement is the town has scheduled a special town election to be held on Tuesday, June 25th at the Town Hall on 38 Church Street, this building here. The special election will include a single Proposition 2.5 question on the ballot to determine if the town of Bernardston is allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5 the amount required, which is $987,000, to pay for the bond issued in order to purchase a replacement for Bernardston Fire Department engine number 3, which is the KME pumper, and all costs are incidental and related thereto. So please make sure you vote.
Can I?
Go ahead, please.
Finance and Select Board are meeting Monday night at
Yes.
6:30.
Oh, that's right.
Continue discussing the proposed district agreement changes
So 6:30 here
here.
next Monday night. The finance, joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Select Board.
June 3rd, yeah.
June 3rd. Anybody who wants to add to our discussion is more than welcome to come and tell us what they would like to see in there.
Terrific. Citizens' concerns. I would invite Bradley Borderweek and Mr. Van Doren and Amy Van Doren up to the table here, please.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello. We have some good news. We're going to be doing another tree planting. So, the tree planting that we actually have 2 tree plantings tomorrow. One of them is going to be early in the morning in Cushman Park, and that's actually with your wife's class.
Yeah.
We're going to be planting a new Christmas tree.
All right.
Not to replace the other one, but in addition to. The Kiwanis was kind of excited about having more options, which is never a bad thing. It should
Great.
look good. So
Yeah.
tomorrow we're going to do that down there with
That's
them.
the kindergarten?
Correct.
Yeah,
BES kindergarten class, yeah.
yeah. I think we're going to try to team it up with some stuff over at the senior center. Yeah. The other tree planting we're doing, I'm going to let Amy talk about first. She's a 6th grader over at the school.
Hi, I'm Amy Van Doren, and like Brad already said, I'm a 6th grader at Bernardston Elementary School. I want to thank Mr. Borderweek for the opportunity to be here tonight. In October of this school year, I heard that NASA was accepting applicants for communities to receive a moon tree. These moon trees are trees that traveled, as a seedling, 270,000 miles to the moon and back. With the help of many people across the community, I worked on an application for one of these trees. Several thousand groups from across the country applied for one of these seedlings, and my application was one of the first approved. These moon trees are from the 2nd generation of seeds that have been flown to the moon and back. They are part of NASA's Artemis 1 mission in 2022, and were germinated and have been grown by the United States Forest Service until they were ready to be delivered to host communities. Just like the first generation of these trees, whose seeds flew on the Apollo 14 mission back in 1971, schools and nonprofits could apply to become stewards of these trees. You may be wondering how and why this is important. This is important to me because I like space, nature, science, and learning about the world around me. So that's why, when I heard about the opportunity to apply for a moon tree, I was excited about it and eager to try and get one for Bernardston. This tree is a direct connection to space. Have any of you ever looked up at the stars and been amazed? This tree is part of that amazing sky brought down to us. This is important to the community because it brings people together, helps us learn and grow, an example of being the amount of people who have worked together to make this happen from many different perspectives and backgrounds. I want to mention and give a big thank you to some of the people who have helped so far. My teachers, Ms. Sakili, Ms. DeYoung, Ms. Clary, and Mrs. Hicks, were all very helpful. Ms. Schultz, my principal, and Patricia Kinsella, the superintendent, were both very supportive and introduced me to Gretchen Licata, John Lepore, who helped me map out potential planting locations, and Jordan Cummings, our environmental educator. I would love to give thanks to Katie Coleman, a former astronaut who lives nearby, who generously offered her time and expertise in this project. Amy Holder, a Bernardston resident, has offered lots of encouragement. Bradley Borderbeek, the Bernardston tree warden, has gone above and beyond, from helping with the application to organizing the planting of the seedling, a sweet gum, as well as being the reason I'm here tonight. Thank you so much, Bradley. Finally, I'd like to thank the Bernardston Selectboard and the town of Bernardston for being so supportive. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Bradley. Thank you so much again.
So it's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Nice job.
It's not every day you get a tree
No,
that goes all the
that's
way to the
true.
moon.
For sure.
So what kind of a tree is it?
It's a sweet gum.
Sweet gum?
Nice.
Okay. And that would fit into the environment of New England?
Just barely, I think. That's why that NASA was gave it to us because the heat's starting to move up. So
They're actually saying it'll be perfect for that exact reason. As things get warmer up here, we're going to move into that climate whether we like it or not. So it's kind of cool. Works out well.
And this is going to be planted at the elementary school?
Yeah, it's going to go in the back courtyard. Amy actually picked out a spot and we spray painted it to get the dig safe done, and the highway department is going to help us tomorrow morning to actually dig the hole And then we're going to have an event at the school after the tree planting in the center of town where we all put it in together and they learn a little bit about planting trees and we get to kind of see what happens. It should be good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's also several businesses that are donating towards like the different materials. And Mr. Van Doren is sort of the lead in most of that. Do you want to say something about that?
We've been very fortunate to have a number of businesses and organizations express a lot of interest in it from the beginning, and we weren't necessarily sure that we were going to get it, but now that we have, we've got more volunteer help than we know what to do with. So
Nice.
local forest products businesses are donating some locally sourced wood products to be used in the fencing, compost, mulch around it that have all come from Massachusetts forests. We have some organizations within Massachusetts, including the Massachusetts Urban and Community Tree Program that are interested in helping provide support and outreach, education around how to measure trees, demonstrate the importance of trees for communities, including how much carbon they're sequestering and storing, as well as how much benefits they provide to local communities. So it's really been amazing to see the amount of outpouring of support, and I'm very grateful to the town of Bernardston, the school committee, all the folks at the school who have helped make it come together, and I really hope it's not a hassle for them. So.
No, that'd be great.
So Amy, how many trees are there across the whole country that are going to be planted?
I think just about 1,000.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And how many in our area in Massachusetts and Western Mass?
I think there's only one so far.
That's us.
Yeah, and
So you
that's
put us on the map.
Nice.
Good.
Can you repeat the times of the tree planting events?
The first
tomorrow's
one
at
is going to
Cushman?
be, I think, at like 10:15, 10:30, and that's with the kids at the
Cushman Park?
kindergarten.
Right. Okay, great.
And then the second one is going to be at 2 p.m. at the school. And
At
I
the
think
school.
we're also trying to plan like a bigger event
Dedication.
potentially after.
My understanding, and Jordan Cummings has been helpful in trying to coordinate some of this, but the tree arrived last week on a UPS truck, and we've been trying to make sure it's cool and stable until we can actually get it planted. So we'd like to have, I think, a small event at the school to just get it in the ground,
Sure.
start making sure it's protected from deer and things. And I don't want to step on your toes, but I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
the care of the tree is your business. But and then that'll give us some time to sort out exactly, what long-term plans, how to best protect it from deer, as well as organize a bigger event with some official outreach. So be able to get some of those government organizations like the DCR that were express support, the businesses from the Massachusetts Forest Alliance that agreed to donate some materials might be able to come. And it'll be a little bit easier maybe when school's not in session or maybe right before the beginning of next school year. So that's all, again, there's still a lot. It's been hectic, right?
It's been interesting. Yeah, it's going well though.
Yeah.
So the care and feeding of this tree, who's responsible?
It's going to be kind of a team effort, I think.
Yeah.
We're all going to try to get it into the ground tomorrow as quickly as possible, having just come in last week. And then after that, I think it's going to be a combination of us helping and maybe some, is it the rec department that's been?
Yeah,
I think the summer camp.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but Jen Stennis, who
Okay.
runs the summer camp program at BES, offered to help integrate some of the watering and keeping an eye on it. I hope I'm not speaking for her, but she was very gracious to do that. We live close by and can keep an eye on it, and I think that's Amy addressed the school, and we're trying to put together just a shared calendar or a spreadsheet to be able to have people sign up to take care of it over the summer if we need to, just on weekends when folks are on vacation,
Would the
things like that.
website
Sure.
be a way to make
But
sure?
the summer camp is going to be at BES from 17 June to 10 August, so I'm sure they can cover down on it during that period of time, so maybe the before and after of that, but sure. Yeah.
The one thing I will mention, I think there was one tree from the original mission that was planted in Pembroke, and I believe it died. There was one that was planted in Holliston, and it actually they had a ceremony without the moon tree where they just planted a tree, and I think it was vandalized. And then after a little bit of time, the real moon tree was moved back into that place. So trying to, it's for the community, and people will do what they do, and that's fine. But I'm just trying to make sure it's established, and we ramp up attention to it. So,
Good.
but that's your wheelhouse, not mine.
So how does I would be concerned about overcare. Like, is there such a thing?
Potentially.
Yeah. So and it's great that all these people want to help, but you don't need 600 people watering it every day either, right? Kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So
we'll teach people how to water, as in probe the ground to make sure it's dry before you.
Yeah.
But I mean, any young tree is going to need lots of water.
Oh, sure.
Because if like as in rain is not sufficient ever with a brand new one.
Yeah.
But actually, that's a good point that you brought that up. Mass DCR and UMass have already helped with the lab with the soil testing.
Awesome.
Because this isn't like one of the, like normally when I plant those trees, I just grab a bag of compost, mix it in, and the kids have fun putting it back in the hole. This one I really can't let die.
No pressure.
Replace it.
No pressure.
So Bill and Amy actually grabbed a soil sample from where Amy had made the big X where we're going to dig the hole, and they actually reached out to them and got it all set up. So they're going to provide lab results back about the soil, so we'll know the pH and all of the characteristics of the soil and have a little bit better of a chance of being able to then amend the soil after the fact to give it a better chance.
Great.
So we look forward to hearing from you to win the ceremony later in the year.
Yeah, for sure.
So we get
that'd
proper
be great.
PR.
So it sounds like you're on the hook for an update anyway.
And if I could just one more, actually two more for Amy. I'd never heard of this. How did you find out about this? Is this a?
I think my grandpa was the person who originally told me because he knows I like space.
Wow,
Nice.
fascinating. And how did you pick the spot? You liked it, and you thought it would. Is it plenty of sun,
there was
shade?
it's a covered space. It's in the back of the school,
Okay.
and not a ton of kids play around that area.
Okay.
Some preschoolers do, but
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome job.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
And
That's
thank you
great.
for putting Bernardston on the map.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And we understand you have is it a softball game you got to make? Okay.
Good luck with that too.
Yeah.
thank you.
All righty.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
And
opportunity.
keep us
Thank you very much.
in the loop.
Can we apply?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're an inspiration.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So appointments. First up is Mr. John Briggs from the Mosquito Control District Representative. John, there you are. Okay. He's here this evening to review what services the town of Bernardston is receiving this coming season.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
So
You're going to have to work hard to top
I
that.
hope mosquitoes aren't a detriment to gum trees. Sweet gum.
They
trees.
are not. No,
Okay.
No, the males are actually, they're pollinators, so they help with flowering plants and whatnot. So it's the females that we have to worry about. Those are the vectors for mosquito-borne illness. So for this season, it's the same as last season. I don't know if you guys received the surveillance report from last year.
I don't remember receiving
I don't remember
it.
And I'm sorry about that. I had given it to Randy C. in
Brochure? Okay,
Yeah, and he usually distributes it, but that's really on me. I should reach out to you guys and give it to you directly. If in the future, do you want me to send it to you, Karen?
Absolutely.
Would
Yes,
that
that
work?
would be great.
Okay.
It's in your.
So I'll go over that briefly, what we did last year, because that's pretty much in line what we'll be doing this year. Last year, we placed 28 traps around 10 different sites in Bernardston. And these sites were determined doing a combination of utilizing GIS software. We cross-reference Mass DP wetlands layers. So we get certain swamps, we're looking for deciduous swamps, emergent vegetation, things like that, because those are conducive to specific mosquito vector species. For instance, we have Culiceta melanora. It is the primary vector species for triple E. What they will do is primarily feed on avian species. They have two generations. The first generation will come out in the spring right now, unfortunately, and they're doing really well based on our numbers that we're seeing so far, unfortunately. They'll amplify the virus. If it's present, the virus has to be present in the bird population. And once it gets to a point of amplification, we have spillover into bridge vectors. And one of those main bridge vectors is Cochleacidae perturbans. They utilize emergent vegetation. So that's where those connections come in for finding those types of habitat. And really, I think around here, it's just those wooded swamps that I'm looking for. And I did actually find Melanura here last year, very small numbers of Melanura, and that really contributed to the drought that we experienced in the spring. There wasn't much precipitation we had in the spring. So that certainly brought their numbers down. This species is one of the few species that will overwinter in the larval phase. And so they need that permanent water source to be there. Once the water source goes down, their resources go down and there's a large die-off. So to give you an example, I trapped in Bernardston earlier this week, and I pulled out 40 Melanura. Last year, I didn't see Melanura until probably July, after all the rain.
Wow.
So it's certainly, the Melanura numbers really recuperated after that rainfall. We had a wet winter. That contributes to that habitat, which is a red maple swamp. They also in cedar swamps. We don't really have those out here. I think the only cedar stand that's pretty decent is in Brimfield. That's the only one that I know of. Do you guys know of any out here?
John may know of some, no?
No, I don't.
No?
Yeah, it's not very common to find cedar stands out here at all. It's more on the eastern side of the state, closer to the water. So it's really conducive to that area of the state. So to see it as far as Brimfield is kind of a rarity. Even in central Massachusetts, it's kind of, they have cedar swamp in Westboro, and then they have a couple of patches, one in Holliston, one out in Fitchburg, and that's about it for central Mass. It just gets less and less as you move out west. So the other site, red maple swamps, it's acidic, kind of bog swamps. They like to utilize that. They'll overwinter in that larval phase, and all that precipitation we received in the winter just kind of filled up the crypts. So they're doing quite well. I went into the crypts with a crew and train them how to do sampling, because it's quite a process. You use a bilge pump. You have to do it just the right way at the right time. Pull it and then transfer it over to your pan, and then go through with your pipette to identify the species of Melanura, because you'll have 80 spring brood. There's about 19 different 80 spring brood that will come out, and they'll die off by the time the weather gets significantly warmer. So you have to be able to tell the difference between those two species. It's relatively easy once you get the hang of it. So yeah, I did find healthy numbers of Melanura, and now, the true indication is now where we're seeing the adult populations. In the communication I've had throughout the state, the people at DPH, Central Mass, Northeast Mosquito, they're all seeing some significant numbers in Melanura, which is not surprising to us. So our main concern, our main public health concern this year is, Melanura, and whether that virus is going to be present or not. So my goal is, I found a bunch of areas that were producing Melanura last year, is to expand on that, find some more. We're going to do some GIS work where we're finding those red maple swamps. It's actually interesting how we do it. I have a seasonal now. Last year I didn't have anyone. I was on my own, but this year I have actually two seasonals. He's very good with GIS work. He actually taught a course at UMass, and what we're going to do is we're going to cross-reference those DP wetlands with a fall layer imagery map, looking for those red maples, because you can actually see them. So if you kind of splice out about 20 data points or 20 splices of those red maple swamps, then you can create the software program where it will find it with a certain degree of confidence. It's probably around 90%, but that's still pretty good. So we can kind of expand that way in finding more Melanura. But we have our sites this year. Normally I would rotate the sites more often. Like I said, you guys have 10 sites. Not all of them produce Melanura, so this one is probably going to be rotated more often than not, just to try to catch it as soon as possible. The odds of EEE getting up here, I think, is slim. It depends on how quickly we see virus. Last year, the virus started pretty late in the season. There wasn't enough time for it to migrate up here with the bird population. And that's what it would take. It would take the birds coming up here that are infected, and there would have to be enough time for the amplification to occur and spill over.
What birds?
A lot. They're all,
Specific
they
breeds?
can all be,
Species?
yeah, it's pretty much all birds, cardinals.
All birds.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Triple E is the biggest concern in this
Triple
area?
E, yeah, that is the biggest concern. So West Nile virus, it's endemic. It occurs every year throughout the state. And luckily, in the early 2000s, we were seeing a lot of cases of neuroinvasive West Nile virus, and that's a lot like encephalitis, where the mortality rate is higher. Luckily, whether it's another strain or not, we have not seen that since that period. So right now, West Nile virus is a bit lower. You get cold-like symptoms. About 80% of people who get it, contract it, don't realize they have it. You can get sick from it. I did meet a gentleman that had it working at my last job position in Central Mass, and he said he was in the hospital for over a month and that he was still hurting from it. So, but luckily the mortality rate with West Nile virus is not quite as high as Triple E. Triple E, the mortality rate is somewhere around 50%, unfortunately. And if you get it, your best case scenario if you survive is you walk away with permanent brain damage and a lifelong of medical attention in these. Yeah, that's why it's very concerning
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
Seniors?
Seniors, so the at-risk populations,
Yeah, right.
children, seniors, yep.
Not the middle people.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I can't give too much information because of HIPAA, but there were instances in 2019 where there was someone that was not, they weren't old and they weren't young. So
Okay.
they were kind of right in the middle.
When I was younger, you'd hear the truck drive, the little motorcycle thing, three-wheeler, drive around and they had this fogger.
Like, yeah,
And it
yeah,
would be killing mosquitoes.
yeah.
And depending on where you were that night, you may have woke you up. We don't do that anymore.
No,
Why?
no. And we don't,
It's banned.
it's not banned. It is, so in Central Mass, you look at Central Mass, you look at Metro West, the residents can call and request spraying.
Right.
Now you base it on surveillance data too. Are there a large number of mosquitoes in that area? People can call in and request. That's not something all the other projects do. You know, we all kind of have our different protocols and whatnot, and it really depends on what the people want. And I would say out in Pioneer Valley, most people do not want anyone doing any wide area pesticide applications, especially after 2019, because I believe some of the areas received aerial treatment in Pioneer Valley. Yes,
Spraying, yeah.
and that was not such a great situation.
So can you treat locally if you find it in a certain area?
So I'm working on that. So right now with the pilot mitigation services, now that we have a facility, last year I was working out of my dining room doing this work, and my wife was a saint because she allowed me to take over that whole space. I had the chest freezer, I had the microscope, all the mosquitoes everywhere, and luckily not one mosquito got loose in the house. Otherwise she would have killed me. But she was very patient, and she knew, you know, I was working towards acquiring a facility, which thankfully that worked out in December. We got a place in South Deerfield. It's actually the old senior community center,
Okay.
which is nice. I'll take it. It has plenty of space for our lab gear, for our computers and everything, and all of our CO2 tanks, so it's perfect.
So you identify the 10 spots in Bernardston. You don't do anything about them?
No, so that's the thing. That's the trick. So with the services, so right now, membership includes free surveillance. So I'll compare it to how East Middlesex runs. So there's only 2 districts that do voluntary appropriations. We're one of them, and East Middlesex is the other. And they have a membership fee that covers facilities and administrative costs. So that's basically covering the lease, covering half of my salary, in anything related to leasing out that building, the cost, the energy costs, or whatever, fuel costs. And The surveillance is a direct service. It's completely different because they hire staff for the summer. You're also dealing with overhead for the surveillance. You have to pay for the tests. You have to pay for the CO2. You got to pay for the fuel for driving all throughout Franklin County. There are days that I'm up in Rowe and I drive all the way down to East Longmeadow. So the drives can be, the fuel cost can be significant. So they separated out. That's how it was intended to be with East Middlesex. That's the model that we were looking to adopt, but it didn't quite, I wasn't here when we implemented everything, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with how things were implemented, but right now surveillance is included in that, and anything else such as mitigation services would be an additional fee. That's additional service and additional fee. So for instance, I'm treating catch basins in Northampton, West Springfield, I believe Hadley, Amherst. So treating those catch basins with BTI, it's Bacillus thuringiensis, israeliensis. It's a naturally occurring soil bacteria, and it just really primarily targets the mosquitoes. It does affect black flies and some non-biting midges for non-target species. But overall, it's a very safe product. It's not hazardous or toxic to humans, really. It's very low toxicity. So we use that in the catch basins. We target these catch basins because that is where Culex pipiens, which is the primary vector for West Nile virus, is. Culex pipiens will utilize man-made artificial habitats, such as catch basins. They prefer very stagnant, bacteria-rich water. Basically anything that is pungent and smells terrible, that's what they are attracted to. They're pretty much the only species that would be attracted to something like that. So if you have mosquitoes breeding in a catch basin, they are most likely Culex pipiens. So the idea with that is to break the transmission cycle by knocking down populations of Culex pipiens. And it's based on, say last year, I found West Nile virus in Northampton. I create a 1 mile radius around that site, and then I try to treat as many catch basins as I can. And then Northampton pays for all the overhead costs for that service.
And you're allowed to go on private property?
Yeah, under Chapter 252, we can pretty much go on. I don't. I usually ask permission. Because I find it would be rude if someone came on my property. I don't care who you are. I would like you to announce yourself and tell me what you're doing. Okay. So we can go on private property, yes.
And if I, the landowner, say no, thank you, I
would say that's fine, absolutely fine. I wouldn't go on your property.
Okay.
If you want to get, Triple E and West Nile.
Well,
I got horses, so I'm.
As he walks away, he says that. I would anyway. Okay, you want Triple E and West Nile.
No, he's going to have you follow him around to say that.
So if you were to find something, you'd notify us and we'd
have
to make a decision?
So who's the main contact for the Board of Health?
For the Board of Health would be
Randy.
Well,
right?
it's Randy.
So I would contact Randy, and then I would keep you in the loop.
Yeah, I would start doing that because Randy.
Okay.
I don't think I haven't never received anything from.
And between you and Randy, you'd give us some advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give you specifics. We can't give the exact location.
Right.
The state doesn't like us giving out the XY coordinates, but I would give you plenty of details to where you could pretty much deduce.
We have a swamp in town,
We have a couple
but the real big one.
behind my house.
Right.
Swamp.
Yeah, you guys actually produce a decent amount of mosquitoes, I would say.
Yeah.
Franklin,
Half
Franklin
of
County
that.
towns, the
Wetland.
further you go up, the less mosquitoes I would say that I'm encountering. Rowe is very interesting because Rowe produces a decent amount of mosquitoes too. But it's all about, where that water table is, the drainage, the soils, is it a xeric and, permeable soil, then nothing's really going to stay cool long enough for mosquitoes to breed. So
I see that the peak season for this is July, August.
it's July 4th.
July.
So
And what you've seen already is pretty alarming. It made it sound so. I can't even imagine what it would be at peak time.
Nothing's a guarantee with nature. You have a lot of variables and factors that contribute to it. We could go into a drought and the numbers could just drop down. Right now, if we don't go into a drought and we continue to see these numbers, then it's going to be
concerned.
it's going to be a concern not only a public health concern, but a nuisance, I would say. Just going out into your yard, you're going to be getting bit by mosquitoes.
A few years ago, I remember we were announcing at our meetings for folks to not go out as much during certain times of the day. Is that still?
I would say only do that with virus.
Yeah, there
If
was
virus
something-
is present.
something
Dawn and
happened. I
dusk
forget
is
what it
when they-
was.
Dawn
Yeah.
and dusk is when they like.
It was like pre-COVID that we were having to make an announcement at our meetings about it.
Okay.
They must have had a hit somewhere and it prompted some sort of a statement we had to keep repeating.
Yeah, if you have, I would imagine maybe West Nile virus was close by and you guys were kind of considered in that focal
Yeah.
area. And it must have been pretty significant for them to recommend.
I don't remember the detail of it, but I remember Lou having to read it as his
Okay.
report every meeting for
Ah,
6 weeks.
okay.
It is good to do that. To be honest with you, there are lots of species, different behavior. There are some species that will be biting you during the day in the direct sunlight. Those are like ones that you find salt marsh mosquitoes. In invasive mosquitoes, we have Aedes albopictus that will bite you in the sunlight, and luckily we don't have too many of those. That's another project we're working on, is trying to track those down. We know we have them in Pioneer Valley, but those are going to be in most likely Hampden County, down in that area where there's a lot of tire piles and a lot of shipments coming in of tire piles. So they kind of come in on tire piles. They're not native. They're used to those tropical temperatures in that environment. However, with tire piles, once you get deep enough at that bottom tire, it's not freezing, and it stays warm enough for them to overwinter. So it's an artificial overwintering, and then they become established. So we're looking for those also mostly in Hampden County.
Do home remedies help at all? If I mean, I don't live near a swamp, but like she lives near a swamp. If she took those mosquito pucks and just started chucking them, without an impact to the
Well,
environment,
they only
by
work
the
if
way,
the
I don't
water's
want to.
still.
They're BTI. Those are mosquito dunks, and they're BTI, and anyone can buy them at a hardware store. However, you can't apply them to a wetland or anything that's considered waters of the
That was a
US.
bad example, but
All right, just making sure. But if you have a spot in your yard and it's, say you have a swimming pool or something that you can't maintain, that's the best thing you do. There's a lot of people that unfortunately they get these swimming pools and years later they can't maintain them. You're going to produce millions of Culex pipiens from those pools, those green swimming pools. So that would be great for treatment for throwing like 10 dunks in there and killing off a bunch of Culex pipiens.
okay. I was just curious.
I have one. Are you an enforcing person if you come into play with someone who has a bunch of tires? Or, you know what I mean? If you see anything that could bring that forward, or are you an enforcing person? Or you let Randy know, oh, hey, this is a mosquito.
We are actually working on getting something in place for tires. As far as enforcement goes, no.
Okay.
I take notes. I take mental notes. I'm using satellite data to find these tire piles, and we're doing the same thing that we did. We're running the same program or the same method for finding those red maple swamps that we're doing for tire piles throughout the Pioneer Valley area. And we're trying to get something in place, hopefully in the near future. There is a tire slicer device. It's Eagle International, and it costs about $55,000 to $60,000. So it's not in our budget right now. We're working on getting some additional funding for it to get that in place. And I think it would be really helpful, because what you do is you slice the sides of the tires, repurpose them if you're using them for silage on the farm or whatever. They can just keep them, and now they're no longer habitat. Because it's not just habitat for Aedes albopictus, they're habitat for Culex pipiens, Aedes japonicus, which could be a potential vector for Triple E and West Nile virus.
Okay, thank you.
That's cool.
Appreciate this.
Yeah.
We learned a lot tonight.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody out in the audience have a question? No?
Nope.
No, I'm just gonna ask your GIS guy, has he looked at NDVI for finding those red maple swamps?
No, I don't think so. Not
You
yet.
might want to ask them to check out NDVI, because that allows you to look, using the orthophotos, you can use the orthophotos and you can filter out particular spectrum that the red maple would only show up in.
Okay, so that's like you're getting the raw imagery from like Landsat?
Right.
Okay, yes, so we're doing that. He knows a lot more about GIS than I do, but
Okay.
yes, we're doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Thank you.
Makes things easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
Appreciate
if I
you coming.
invite you onto my property, you'll come and trap
I can tell you what mosquitoes you have, and
Well, I have
I can't do anything about the mosquitoes.
half my property is wetland, wooded wetland.
Yeah, so I could place a trap
Perfect.
on your wetland. That sounds like a great place to place a CDC or a gravid if you want.
So if you see him walking around, Jane, don't call the cops. Just let him.
I'll have my high vis vest on. Yeah, it's funny because in the past people have called on other projects that they think there's a bomb. We have a gravid trap that it's this busboy pan. We fill it with this mosquito soup, that stinky water, hay-infused water to attract the Culex pipiens. And then we have, it looks like a tackle box on top of it. And people think it's a bomb and they call it in. And the other one is the CO2 cylinder. I use a 10-pound tank, which is about 35 pounds altogether. It's great because I can extend it, but it's huge. So people also get concerned about that. So I try to be discreet where I put the traps. I don't want anyone kind of getting injured or getting tangled up in them.
Sure.
Especially deer too. So I'll hang all the wires up high so that the deer, there's a game trail. I try to stay away on the side of those game trails.
Yeah, well, I have a few animals that go through my yard. Porcupine, skunk, deer.
There.
You got them all.
Bear, I got them all.
That's fun.
Moose, haven't seen a moose in about 12 years, but
Wow.
All right.
Very good.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's
you
great.
coming in.
Yeah,
All right,
sure.
thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it.
Absolutely.
And feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions.
I want to get one of those hockey puck things or whatever you
Oh no! Listen, I had a bad example. It was a bad example,
you
but
know,
It sounded like a good idea.
Yeah.
it does, they don't
It's a
work
great
because
idea.
it's
You're just in
running water. The
violation
water
of federal
moves.
regulations. All right.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second appointment tonight was going to be Jennifer Reynolds, our Council on Aging Director, but she had a conflict, so she gave me her report. We're talking about the care and feeding of the wood floors at the senior center. She invited 4 different companies to come in, and they all came and visited the senior center. Only one bid on it, and her suggestion, her request is that we approve this particular bid. It is from A. Dion and Son Floor Contractors. They broke it down into 3 separate parts: to buff and recoat 2 coats of commercialized catalyzed water-based floor finish, to the tune of $2,700. To sand and finish with 4 coats of commercial water-based floor finish, 1 room that has a cleaning residue, and that's $4,200. And then the stair treads going down to the basement, that's $1,600, just because it's labor intensive. They do the treads, not the skirts or the risers. So the total bill that she's looking to get approved by us is $8,500, and she would find those funds out of the remainder of her budget in this fiscal year. The second piece of it would be from next year's budget and maintenance costs there. So I guess I'd entertain a motion to accept the bid from A. Dion and Son Floor Contractors in the amount of $8,500.
I'll make a motion to approve A. Dion and Son Floor Contractors in the amount of $8,500 to do the work as presented in the quote at the Bernardston Senior Center.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Aye. Discussion. Sorry.
I was gonna say, let's.
So they quoted each room separate,
It's just 3, the dining room and then the,
and then
Big hall or whatever you call it.
clarify it.
and then next year we'll be talking about doing the basement and the kitchen and the bathrooms.
Basement has
linoleum.
Linoleum,
I
yeah.
guess whatever, tile,
Yeah.
whatever you call it.
Yeah,
That's what we were doing. We were doing
yeah, alternate years.
alternate years,
Yeah.
and we kind of got off the schedule for some reason.
Yeah, we couldn't
Yeah,
get a
we couldn't
contractor
get
to come.
They couldn't find anyone to do this.
They wouldn't come even give you a quote.
Really?
I mean, like you said, they brought 4 people and only 1 quote.
Yeah.
And they all came.
And we explored, I talked to Bob Raymond to get the name of the gentleman that he used to use for the senior center, because that was his thing. And the guy was out of business for a couple of years, so it's,
Right, yeah, well, COVID.
I don't know what obviously for that kind of money, you'd think that.
So
they'd
when
find
we're
the time.
saying commercial water-based finish, what?
I don't know what.
They're using the water base because of the odor.
I know. I wanted to do it when we were closed for COVID, because then we could have used the permanent stuff.
Yep.
Maybe they couldn't find anybody then, I just know it didn't happen.
I know
To
they
get
were
on this
struggling.
fellow's schedule, it won't be till September that they actually come in and do it. So if there was a quiet time in September,
Okay, so we need to, Jennifer needs to talk to me so I do the carryovers for what
Right.
she's planning.
I would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll have her reach out to you.
yeah.
All right, so that one's taken care of.
Now you can call for the vote.
Okay,
Sorry,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
great.
So
Thanks,
that's what we
Jennifer.
approved. All right, last up is John Lepore, Bill Montiglio, and Bradley Borderweek. Would you all come up to the desk, please?
How's everybody tonight?
Good. Hey, Jan.
I'm not exactly sure why we're meeting tonight. From the exchange of emails that I got today, it's pretty clear that
Yeah, it's going to
if
share in
the 3 of you got together at the charity
she'll
lot,
take care of that.
charity farm lot, and went over the report as it's been prepared, it would seem that this whole problem, the communication, whatever else, would go away. But right now, seems to be a lot of animosity and not getting along well as far as this process, and I'm disappointed because you're all volunteers, you're all people that care for the town and care for the charity farm lot, and I just don't know what the select board can do to help you, short of asking, begging, suggesting, whatever the right term is, that the 3 of you get together with the report and just do it. What's the hang up?
I wanted to review the report before I took the time to go and meet with Mr. Porterwick, and he flatly refused.
So you both sides have dug in, and report's not forthcoming, and you're not going to do anything until, what the heck? Why don't we get in our cars and go up there tonight and get it done? I mean, instead of wasting our
Why do
time.
we need to go there? Why can't I look at review a copy, as I always do? I've been doing this for years. And I always review. I've had my work reviewed many times as a professional. It always has to be reviewed before discussion happens. I want to know what's going on, what the plan is. Quite frankly, the original report that was done in 2013 was lacking in a number of areas, and I wanted to make sure that we had covered those bases, and I didn't want to waste his time or our time. So I thought it was a very simple request to ask for a copy, and that's turned into quite a show and a waste of our time, quite frankly.
And it's now we're getting it up to percolating it up, so you're wasting our time and the townspeople's time.
No, I'm not the one that refused to give you a copy of it.
So why?
I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying
Okay.
this whole thing can be solved if you all 3 get in your vehicles and go up there and have at it.
Okay, it's not the way I do business, but that's. I'm a volunteer. We're working on volunteering.
We're volunteers too.
Right.
Everybody around this table. So,
So-
that doesn't cut it with me.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, I had a question as to why the report can't be viewed by John.
I have a whole long spiel that I was going to go through, but I had asked them to meet with me over there because the way this is written right now will be a little bit confusing.
Okay.
And I normally when I normally go out with clients to discuss forest management plans, I bring it to them the day that we discuss it so that I can walk them through each page and explain why I did what I did. This in particular will be more confusing because in addition to this, I've been working on 2 amendments, one for the climate program and one for the bird program for the state that the state is pushing. And missing those amendments to this will make this a little bit more confusing. So if I was able to kind of walk and talk and point and explain what I was doing in the woods, that was my goal. And I didn't really think that it was that crazy of an idea to go for a walk with these guys. So I had asked them if they would join me out in the woods, and yeah, that was it.
I've read probably hundreds of these reports because I work for DCR, I've worked for DFW, I work for NBAR. So I feel like I want to come loaded with questions. I want to be able to discuss it and know what intelligently approach what the concerns are, rather than just hearing it. I want to be able to read it and review it and understand it before I take the time to do that. That's just the way I do business professionally.
I mean, then I think the simplest answer is make a copy, and if they do get confused by it, you'll have to work it out when you do the walk around.
That's fair.
And the other piece is, we had a due date of, I believe it was the end of April. We were supposed to see a copy of this, and that hasn't been met. And the other piece is, when are we going to see a copy of not a final draft, but a copy that we can review with the appendices? I believe a specific date needs to be established. This has been going on for 1.5 years. We've been talking about this report. 1.5 years, which is more than an adequate amount of time to write this report, in my opinion.
I mean, everybody has to keep in mind he's still doing his regular tree warden job in town as well.
Help me understand this, Brian. Is this a separate contract?
It is not.
That was my understanding when we sat down initially, that he was getting paid a separate stipend for this.
Coming out of his budget.
Out of his budget.
That was not clear.
I understood it that way.
My understanding is that there was going to be a charge of $2,500.
It was just an estimate, as a wild guess as far as how much it would cost me to do the work. I don't think that we should be taking money out of the charity lot for this kind of a thing. That should be going
That's
to
fine.
families in need.
Not arguing, I'm just
That wasn't a separate, maybe that was part of the confusion.
Either way,
So,
I'm happy to make you guys copies of this tonight, and I was hoping to talk to you about it, but if you'd rather look at it on your own and we can talk about it another time, that's fine too. Whatever.
yeah, I mean, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to review what you'd done and see what was going on, and then talk with you about it and be able to ask intelligent questions. That's all.
Yeah, we just do things a little differently. Not a big deal.
Well,
We can move forward from that.
The other dynamic that's going on here is the human side of it, and the conflict between the 3 of you, and the exchanges that were memorialized in the emails back and forth. It is not appropriate that we treat each other the way the tone that was set in those emails is just unacceptable, and I don't appreciate that tone shows up in the communication. So I would ask all 3 of you to back off on your handling of each other. This should be a professional exchange, and we need to treat it accordingly. And if it continues, then we'll just break it off and we'll find some other solution to this process. Because if you guys can't treat each other with respect, then we'll just stop the whole process. And that's that.
I agree with that,
Thank you.
and I concede to that. That's not a problem.
Good.
I think most of this can go through the board too. That might help,
Why would you want to go through the board? I don't understand.
just to help communicate better. That seems to be an issue here.
No, I think for now, let's make a copy of that tonight. We can do that.
And
a couple copies so they
Can
can
we
chat.
establish a deadline for the for the draft, including the appendix?
I just don't know what he has lined up for tree work here at the end of the fiscal year for
So
other town projects.
Beyond that, I don't know how long this will take. This is the first time this has happened. This is a brand new program, and there's no example as far as how long this takes. So having not done one before, I just don't know how long they...
This is for the climate piece and the...
And the birds,
Birds.
yeah. They're both new programs that the state is kind of encouraging us to, I have it, I can explain it. Yeah, so this is a new program that the state is pushing, and it's just a much more complex document where I have these ornithologists and forest ecologists meeting with me to draft the plan together, and they come from Mass Audubon and the state DCR, and between all of us, we're putting this together, and it's changed this plan a lot. So it's not nearly the same plan that was proposed back in 2013 or 2012 or whenever it was. So as a result of all these new changes that are coming up, it's a lot different, and it's a ton more work. I've literally spent days working with these people in the field trying to get this done, and sometimes I feel like you guys don't realize how much time I have been putting into this, and I really have been. It's a bit cumbersome. The state actually refers to it as mental gymnastics. And it's just a lot of work. So I don't know how long it's going to take, because just like rebuilding a motor, I've never done one before, so I don't know I can't tell you how long it's going to take me to rebuild the motor. Same thing with this. It's a new program, and I'm doing the best I can. So I know that that's not what you wanted to hear, because you like dates. I know how you like dates, and I apologize, but I can't give you one because I don't know how long it'll take. But I will do the best I can.
Could we compromise with that and say, in not knowing how long it's going to take, could we say, he gets a copy of what you have?
Sure.
And in 90 days, you come back and say, you've got questions, maybe you have some answers, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, I'm not even a quarter of the way through it. Some sort of update. You don't have to come here, you could just update through Karen, for example, and say, hey, this is what I'm working on, whatever. Also communicate that to over there too. So that way there everybody is, so he's, and I'm thinking somebody's not sitting over here going, well, he's not doing it, and the other guy's, he's not doing it, and this person, to stop all of this.
I'm happy, willing and able to give an update at any time interval that you guys want. And it can be in person or an email, whatever.
Is this considered like an ongoing project that you're doing?
That's a fair way of putting it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like something, again, just in the future with the new website, and you have your own page, and just things like that, as far as listing those things that you're doing, and that just for communication, that might be just throwing that out there as a recommendation.
Sure.
On all the things you're doing and posting those, and
Another thing to do.
yeah, another thing to do. But
How often do you get to meet with these other two folks? Is it based on their schedule?
It is, yeah. And they're based in central and eastern Mass.
So do you get an opportunity like once a month even to?
Give or take, actually.
So is a
Probably
monthly
a little
update
bit
more
more than that.
pertinent than a 90-day one, or?
I'm happy to give you guys an update anytime, and the update will just be where I am at the time, and with any luck, it'll be done.
Right.
But I don't want to promise anything,
Yeah.
because I really just don't know how long it'll take. But I am meeting with them again in like a couple, 3 weeks, and hopefully we can, I have my homework in between then that I've been working on the draft, and
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
John, how long is it going to take you guys to review his report and get back with your questions?
Well, as it turns out, the timing is not good to even get the report now, because I'll be leaving on vacation for 2 weeks.
Nice.
I've been trying to get this report.
So 2 weeks. After you get back from vacation, how long will it take?
I think I should be having an adequate amount of time, as much time as I want.
Right.
Well, I mean, you were
Why would
wanting
if
dates.
he can't give us a deadline, why would I want to give a deadline? I mean, he
I'm
can't give us a
not
deadline.
asking for a deadline. I asked how long you thought it would take you to review the report and come up with your questions.
I probably could do it in a couple hours.
So that,
So back to my original question: is some sort of 90-day update reasonable? Is it fair? Is it you're back from vacation at that point? you know,
I don't know. I mean, I understand what adaptive management is. I understand what he's trying to do. All I wanted to do was a month ago was to see this piece of the document and then discuss it and see where things are at. And this has become a real strain. And this has taken more time between, you know, it's just a waste of everybody's time. I don't understand why I just couldn't have a copy of this and look at it and just say, hey, Brad, I have some questions about this. But that became an impossible feat. And I don't know what to say.
We're past that now because you're going to get a copy tonight. So instead of talking about history, let's talk about the future.
Well,
I'm sorry, but that's how I operate.
That's understandable.
There's no point in going over and over and over what our problems were last week and a month ago and a year ago. We need to say, here's where we are now, and this is what we're going to progress to.
Okay.
Well, if everybody's good, let's go make a copy of that right now. Make 2 copies, please. Hand each one of them a copy.
Would you like one too?
Maybe one for Karen's file.
Yeah, I'll take one.
And then if you meet with them in 2 or 3 weeks and you feel there's something to update,
Sure.
John will be back in 3 weeks.
And we can discuss it.
Yep.
It's that simple.
And maybe you'd have more input on, that would answer some of the questions he's gonna have anyway.
Sure.
That works
Move
for
on
me.
from that.
Cool.
Okey-doke. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm going to struggle with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are invited to the moon tree thing, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The planting.
Again, what time?
So the first one is in the center of town, that's the little Christmas tree. That's at 10:15, 10:30. The moon tree one is at 2 at the elementary school.
2 o'clock. 2. Yes.
And that's the one they want to keep low key. Is that kind of different?
I don't really know what the answer to that is. I don't think it has to be low key, but it is at the school. So there is that. What's that?
All the schools will prepare and maybe parents.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth about how many school kids are going to be attending. We've talked about a couple grades, and we've also talked about the whole school. So
Yeah.
I'm really not sure yet.
I don't think there'll be a lot of parents there to answer your question. I think the celebration they're gonna do toward the end of the summer will be grander than what, right now they wanna get the tree in the ground and get it going
Yeah.
before they wait longer to organize something bigger.
And I thought they kind of didn't want to publicize the fact that the tree was there, so it would have.
Yeah, that's disappointing that somebody would vandalize the other
I
ones.
know.
I know you know a lot about, I know you're an arborist, you learn a lot about trees, but is it specific to your area? Are you just learning about trees that typical to New England? Or do you go to arbor school? I don't even know if that's a thing. But you know, and they say, hey, let's learn about sweet gum trees today. Did you know anything about those specific trees going into?
The sweet gum that
Yeah.
we're planting? I did learn about it a long time ago at UMass,
Sure.
but it's not a tree that we have around here.
Right.
It's not something I thought about.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually
So
had to do some digging.
I was just gonna. So
Yeah.
my followed up with, how much reading about sweet gum trees have you done since all of that started at the elementary school?
So the crisis hit on Thursday when we found out the tree was coming.
Okay.
And the biggest challenge was actually that these little sweet gum trees, when they get bigger, are going to produce a fruiting body. And it's a prickly little red fruit.
With sweet gum in it. No,
That's right. See?
So the challenge originally was we were going to have it near the playground. And that would have been a bad day with
Yeah.
the kids stepping
Sure.
on it and making
Yeah.
a mess. So now it's going to be in like the back of the courtyard so they can have outdoor learning activities where they get to it and do stuff with it and learn. But it's probably going to end up being something where kids throw the balls at each other and yeah.
break it open and get
How
their
big
piece of
is it?
bubblicious and
What's that?
How big is it?
I think it's around 4 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah, so someone has done a great job growing this thing under stress, knowing that you can't replace it.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
that's the Forest Service, right? That was probably the easy part though.
So
Yeah.
we're going to have a 8-foot chain link fence around it.
Electrified.
Electrified.
You're actually not far off.
Serious?
I think it's going to be an 8 by 8 or a 10 by 10 area around it to keep the deer and other wildlife away from
Yeah,
it.
got
Okay.
it.
And then there's gonna be an interior fencing area that's going to be smaller to prevent rodents from getting to it. Again, because you can't replace it. It's not
Right.
like all these other trees where I just
Fascinating.
go
buy
back to
another one.
Greenfield Farmers and get another one, or wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So how do you prevent the rodents that go?
That's where that smaller barrier closer to the tree is. And we're gonna do that in addition to putting a watering bag, so that whoever does water has an easier chance, because the easier it is, the more reality that it actually gets done.
Is there a water source behind the BES that you can?
The facilities director, Gretchen, is actually gonna be helping us with that.
Good.
Yeah.
She's very good.
They brought it up at the meeting yesterday, they were doing this.
In a perfect world,
Yeah,
this
but
thing's
not
gonna
the, not the
go
water
They
part of it.
didn't-
100 years.
Yeah.
They
He-
didn't want to
It is
really do
He
that.
borrows my
75 feet
truck.
tall.
With the water in
You
the
knew
bank.
right where I was going with
Same
that.
width.
All right.
So no way.
That's a
It
big
is
tree.
huge hole
So your
that
truck
it's gonna
gets
fill.
rusty now.
Okay.
Yeah. But
You
it'll
got
be
awesome
something
shade
fun.
too.
Oh, yeah.
For summer wrecking.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go new business. Fiscal year 25 accounting services, Markham. On May 21st, 2024, Markham forwarded a letter confirming their understanding of the terms and objectives of our engagement and the nature and limitations of the service they will provide to the town for 1 year, commencing on July 1st, 2024 and ending on June 30th, 2025. The letter, together with its attachments, Schedule A and B, comprises the complete and exclusive statement of the agreement between Markham and the town of Bernardston. If the town agrees with the terms of the engagement as described in this letter, we will sign the engagement and return it to Markham. Markham will then send back a fully executed copy. I would entertain a motion to return the engagement letter requesting the following 2 changes. First, Schedule A, page 11, bullet 11, ensure that Markham employees shall perform services while physically present at the town offices on average of 4 business days per calendar month. When we originally talked to Markham, Jane, it was probably 2 years ago now, that was one of the concerns. It was one of Stan's concerns, Stan Garland, former chairman's concerns, that they come on site because the accounting firms that were bidding against Markham were all from outside of the area, and they were not going to be physically present. They were going to do their accounting off-site, and we felt it was important that they have time physically in this office to engage with the department heads, with the board, with the finance committee. So that's one correction to be made. Go ahead.
I would prefer that that's at a minimum of 1 day per week.
Okay.
And do you want to know why?
No, I believe that's the same thing, except for it's not really.
Right, well, the
Min-
difference,
Yeah,
well, they could do all 4 days in 1 week.
I know,
They
which
did,
would blow
but
it,
They
right.
wouldn't do that. But the reason I say each week is because in the off week from the warrant, then they have time to speak with department heads or whatever, who have something that they need to sit down and talk to them
Right.
about. And the warrant week, they're too busy to do that. So that's why I say.
Okay, so
Good idea.
let's make sure we get this wording right. While physically present in the town offices, not on average, but at a minimum,
At a minimum of 1 day a week,
a minimum of 1 day per week.
per week. Got it.
Okay, good. The second correction or change to the engagement letter would be Schedule A, page 11, bullet 8. Schedule one-on-one meetings during the first quarter of the fiscal year with department heads and the finance committee to develop and provide standard customized reports. We still struggle to this day, 12 months later, getting the reports in the condition and reporting the information back to us, particularly the finance committee. So we need to schedule some time to develop those reports with the folks from Markham to come on site.
So if we approve this tonight with these changes, we're expecting some kind of a response from Markham to
Yeah.
say, this
Say
is what
yes.
the new fee will be?
And no, that they will incorporate those 2 corrections into the agreement, the engagement letter.
And potentially with this
and then
additional
decide.
fee.
I don't think there's a change in fee here, because they're already doing it, it's just formalizing that they will
So
be
they're,
on
they're
site.
currently here 4 days a
4
calendar
days-
month?
Yeah.
They
oh, yeah,
currently are?
Yeah. The woman's here
But
once a week.
You said number
But-
8, I wasn't following.
We don't want that to slip.
This is getting it in writing. is what
Yeah,
you're-
exactly. It's just
I
a.
have-
I'm just
Formalize-
curious why it says 2 crossed out, now it says 4.
Because the decision was, should it be 2 or should it be 4? And the answer was,
Karen was
My
just
recommendation was
suggesting
4 days, and then James'
And then I-
idea is once a week, and that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is a change from our current contract.
The current contract says. 2.
silent. It says 2?
Yes.
So I'm saying they're gonna rebut and say,
I
we'll
think-
do all
I
that
think
for
that
this
we
additional
amended
fee.
that
We just have to be
before
ready
it
for
got-
that.
Oh, right.
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, has Donna seen this?
It has,
Donna.
no, I don't believe she
The
has.
reason I ask that is because this is totally one-sided.
That's how contracts are these days.
Well, but we don't have to accept it that way. We can get some clauses in for ourselves before we sign it, perhaps. There's, on page 4, there's, in the third-party services, you authorize Markham to participate in discussions with. That sentence is also up in the 3 paragraphs before that. Signing this allows them to sublet this to anybody they want to without consulting us.
Ultimately, they are the responsible party.
No, you read through this, the wording is that they are not responsible. They remove themselves from any responsibility over and over again through here. When I read it. On page 5, Markham wants to know as soon as possible if we're unhappy or if there's a problem. If any problem with or issue with our service, we need to report to them within 1 week. I don't think that's enough.
Okay?
You know,
What would you be comfortable with?
I don't know. I didn't write anything because I was gonna say 2 weeks and then I was thinking a month. Because think of the reports we get from them.
Yeah,
They are already a day late by the time we get them in our hands. And if we can't all sit down immediately and start reading them, and it takes you a week to read them anyway. And being a little facetious there, but they are very difficult to read.
they're not, and that's why the second bullet of working to develop the reports that will assist us in.
Well, and we thought we did that last summer, and
It
nothing
hasn't,
happened.
it hasn't improved.
Anyway, so I don't think a week is enough. I'd go
2 weeks, 3
at
weeks?
least, well, maybe 3 weeks. 3 weeks or a month.
Okay, can you make a note to that, Karen? So that, okay?
Um, let's- Then on page 6, oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand my own note. The town, the first full paragraph on page 6, my note is by town with a question mark. It's saying they're gonna build a town. And I was questioning whether the town should be taking on that obligation. You'll have to read the paragraph to see what you think.
Having to do with the hiring?
It has to do
We try to
with-
hire one of their
We try
employees.
to hire one of their
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
within a year.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. sign that.
Disclosure or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it called?
An NDA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's saying that they can bill us whatever they think the damages are, and we have.
If we go and try to hire their employee.
Yeah, which one?
I'm gonna say we're not gonna do that.
Yeah. Knowing that the sledgehammer would fall on us and it would be painful.
Well, if we don't, never mind. I put a question mark on the business risk allocations, because I wasn't quite sure about that. And on the last page, the town shall not make any public announcements in respect to this agreement or otherwise communicate its terms without Markham's prior written consent.
Yeah, again,
Open meeting law. This is on the table right now. Anybody can call up and ask for a copy of it. That's the open meeting law. So
when you're dealing with a municipality, you've got to,
Yeah, so I question.
there's nothing proprietary here that they're not giving us any deals.
It specifically says this agreement. And then a few lines down from that, it's where it says Markham may assign this agreement, including all rights and benefits hereunder to any affiliate, acquire. It doesn't say anything about notifying Bernardston.
All fine and good, but ultimately they, by the signing of the financial letter, are taking on the burden and the risk. So if they choose to sub it out to some other accounting firm,
Well,
they're,
I question if they're taking on any risk when I read this, and that's why I ask if Donna has seen this. I
Well,
don't know.
did she review the first contract? Because I'm gonna say this isn't too different from the very first contract.
no, I don't believe she
No.
did review
This
it.
is the 1 year.
I don't know whether Lou
No.
sent it out to her or not. I have no
It
idea.
went to Donna.
Hmm.
I don't recall that it ever went to Donna. I
It
could
is-
be wrong, or maybe Brian remembers. Anyway, I just was not comfortable with the whole thing. And those are from my first reading, maybe you should say, thank God I didn't have time to read it twice. But I know whoever writes the contract is gonna make it one-sided, but this didn't even try to ameliorate the other people.
They're providing a service, and they're,
On their terms, not on our terms.
we don't have the wherewithal to develop a contract like this. And we probably couldn't get anybody to agree to it if we did. It was hard enough to get Markham. I mean, we had some very one-man show competition
And I
to,
don't think it's an unwillingness to sign it at all. It's just about, hey, can we talk about
Yeah.
a couple things? That's all. And
That's
if it's
it.
going to increase fees, of course not.
Yeah.
But
Well, we
I
can
do
still
think
talk
it doesn't
about it.
hurt to ask to see if Kristen can come
Right.
more often. And I don't think it hurts to say,
Am I-
hey,
am I wrong that she's-
instead of saying work with departments, say, make it more defined that they are going to schedule meetings with department heads. Like that text is in there, so
so that they meet the needs of whatever the department head needs
yeah,
for
more
reporting.
relationship there than
And
somebody saying,
the
well,
finance
I'll
committee.
work with the departments. There's nothing saying you will work with departments. It's just
Well,
kind of
How
very vague.
frequently
You
does
know-
Kristen come?
She comes, excuse me, I'm sorry, she comes warrant week. She'll come on Tuesday, she comes all day Tuesday, and
Yeah.
then she'll come in the morning on Wednesday, and usually is gone by noon. But I agree.
This as in
But that-
24 hours later? So she
Yeah,
skips
she
the
comes
whole,
Tuesday and Wednesdays. She's here for a full day and a half now.
every
but
2
Every
weeks?
day, every
2 weeks.
warrant week. Yeah,
And so she doesn't show up the other week?
no.
And we never see Elizabeth.
And the other piece to
Oh,
that.
Elizabeth.
We Zoom with, she's down in Florida.
Well, no, she's not in Florida anymore. She
No?
moved a little bit north from there.
Oh, okay.
She's in North or South Carolina now.
Okay, well, down south,
I know.
It's like-
Anyway,
east of,
but that was not our understanding, most certainly not mine, when we went into this, that we were gonna have the person who was in charge of our account
oh,
being down
I would
there.
disagree to that. They were pretty open that
Oh, I never heard.
we're going to have,
But I
have
wasn't included in
the accounting
discussions.
person on site, but the principals, there's no reason for them to be doing the work. Certainly, to have Elizabeth come or participate with us via Zoom to develop those reports. Absolutely, I can't agree more. We need to get, we're feeding this information into a general ledger system and we're not getting what we need back out of it.
And especially with the first year, the account numbers changed, department heads are like, what account, you know, I mean, it really.
It was fluid.
And on the off
You know,
part,
well,
it
and the bottom line is, when you got to sit down and really delve into that, the account numbers didn't change. What they did was expand. They are making us, each department, use the whole state number. And the accountant that we had before chose a section of it that was applicable.
And those reports were worthless too.
Well, no, they weren't.
Yeah. You were just as you were
Well,
used to them.
because
You
they
didn't get any information out of them, so, and they
Well,
weren't
you-
accurate and she wasn't posting it properly and.
But as I was saying,
That's why we made the change.
Having Kristen on that off week to help, like some of our, how we're processing the bills, just how we can develop some things to make our process better, you know, I mean, that would be a good thing, just to have her around on a. like
So let's
you said,
include
on
that
a-
in the,
What
in
did
the
you
agreement.
change? Well,
If-
I don't know what I didn't find the paragraph that you were changing about.
It is,
Schedule A,
it's
page 11.
Bullet 11.
See, my new bullets are not numbered.
No, they're just counted, I counted it down, I had, so you're on page 11,
Yeah.
page 11.
Schedule A.
Oh, the 11.
One,
count-
two,
oh,
three,
count
four,
the-
I
five,
started
six,
counting
seven,
here.
No,
eight.
count on the page.
Okay. Yeah, it would have
Is
been
it-
helpful.
Possible to get in this thing to, without insulting them, to have them, at the very least, be more receptive to the director of the finance committee's requests for changes, for explanations, for things like that. I sat in a lot of finance committee meetings where I asked them to change this, it wasn't changed. I wanted them to do this, they didn't do it.
Would you
We need them to
characterize
be
your
more receptive.
relationship, would you characterize your relationship with Elizabeth as positive?
I
Negative?
don't want to. I don't want to pick on Elizabeth.
Okay.
I would say that Markham does not respond to the requests that we make.
Okay.
Even when we've had Zoom meetings with them and gone through, and they said, "Oh, sure," or they said, "That's not the way we do business." They're supposed to be supplying accounting records for us to understand and to utilize. If they can't, you're complaining because they wouldn't subdivide the expense accounts. Our previous accountant did not do that. These guys are subdividing the expense accounts. They're subdividing everything that comes along, even things that they shouldn't. And they can't bother to change the format of the report to show what an adjustment is. There's no column for adjustments. There are adjustments all the time. And the only way you find them is by taking the budgeted amount and subtracting it for every single account. Look at every single account, the budgeted account, the current amount.
Well, maybe we take
And
what
if
we're
they-
saying here, if we're unhappy with a service, currently says 1 week, if we get it to 3 weeks, we put it in writing, and it doesn't go to Elizabeth. It goes to,
Well-
who's the girl in Greenfield? I'm just saying, if we just talk to them, they're gonna say, well, I never heard it.
Tanya? You mean?
Whoever the woman's
Tanya
name
is
on
the
here.
one that we requested the adjustment count
And-
from.
Put it in
We might have-
writing, not
Should
just
have
verbal.
directed that to Elizabeth, because Elizabeth is the mover and shaker of the,
Well,
Reports.
Copy Tanya on
It
everything.
took Karen requesting to change the name of the annual report line item.
But
to
how,
the annual
how are we
report.
requesting
And
those
I had-
changes, in writing or verbally?
I sent an email, simply sent an
Okay,
email.
so there's our
and said, This is how
follow-up.
I want my accounts to, but
So if-
now, and she came right back. and
If in the
said, "No."
next
But you did
next
that
2 weeks
too,
it's not
to
done,
Elizabeth, you did that.
It was to Elizabeth and I CC'd Kristen.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we have recourse.
And they did respond.
If they're not
Yes.
responding to Jane, we have recourse.
Well, right, and I don't know why were not responding to me. I felt that they had been told not to respond to me.
By whom?
I don't know, you.
No.
Select board.
No.
I mean,
Why would you do that?
hey,
But my point
No.
to that was, like I said, I sat in a number of finance. Now, I hope, and I did not mean to put you on the spot if that did put you on the spot, but I did sit in enough of them to hear that enough times to say they really should be receptive to. I mean, she's the
Yeah, but
chairman
we
of
have
the
to
finance
follow what's in the
committee.
contract too.
And
I
she
asked
sets
them-
up the all the work she does, and I hope she does it forever. I know she's
Yep.
not going to, but I hope it's forever.
I agree.
However, while she is doing it, I'd love to see that relationship.
Right.
I don't feel that I have a bad relationship.
No,
with
and
Elizabeth.
not to suggest that
That's
it's
why
bad.
I said it's Markham. For instance, I asked for the final reports for the budgeted and the special reports from last year. When they finished closing the books, I wanted the final reports. I asked more than once. To this day, I have not received them. So I have no way of knowing if they really carried forward the correct amounts from last year to this year. And neither do you.
So what if we follow the process? There's a
Right.
process here.
That's what we need
If
to
it's
do.
not corrected in the 2-week period, we jack it up a little bit more.
Right.
And that's a breach of contract if they're not doing it. At some point, we can pull Donna in and she can write a letter to them.
So
If we
maybe the
have to get
process would
people
be-
torqued up, it's okay. I'm good with that.
Right, so the process would be to maybe let me, like I could, I don't know, report follow the process by reporting it to me, and then I would approach Tanya or,
And I'd do it all in an email.
right,
I don't want to have to go through you. If I need to discuss the finance reports and straighten things out, I want to be able to talk to the people that are doing it. I don't want to have to worry about interpretations.
If you don't
Let's
put it
set
in
up a
an email.
Zoom,
Right.
you, me, you, and we'll,
how about if
Yep.
I set up a Zoom, and we'll say we want to talk about the contract before sending it back to you, that kind of thing?
but it's also, it's not the contract, it's the reports that we,
Well,
But that'll be
But
resolved if
that's
we
part of-
fix the contract.
Well, it's already in the contract. We have the right to recourse if they're not responding to our stuff. Yes, you have to get legal counsel involved. That's why everything can't be verbal. It has to be in writing, any request. That's your only documentation if it goes
I was hoping
bad.
that I was going to talk to Elizabeth about this stuff again.
Okay.
And some of the emails, I mean,
Great to follow an email up with a conversation, but you need a
I-
written
no,
record of it.
No.
Right, and that's the only reason about what
It
I'm,
came to a point where
saying.
I gave up. I quit. I didn't look over the reports thoroughly anymore. I didn't try to dig to the bottom and find out what was going on because it was too frustrating and I just didn't need it. And I reported that and thought somebody else would take over. But
Well, I like the
apparently
suggestion
nobody
Ken
did.
just made, if you could schedule a Zoom call in the
Yeah.
next week.
I'll
For
schedule
the
a
three of
Zoom.
you at least to be there.
wait till I come back from.
I'll wait,
from-
yeah,
That's
he's
right,
going
so sorry
out,
about
yeah,
that.
so we'll do, when you get back, and it'll be, we'll just,
Can we defer that until I speak with Elizabeth?
Yes.
And see what happens?
okay, perfect. All right, you'll get back to us then and let us know how that goes, if we need to proceed with the meeting or not?
And maybe now that the auditors have asked for year-end reports, I can get a copy of them.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear back from you then, and then I'll just follow up with you, Jane. How's that?
It's there. I
Okay.
don't want to make waves here, but
Well, you know,
No.
if they're
But
not
I-
meeting our needs, we're spending a lot
Right,
of money to
that's
get.
right.
I know.
Well, that's
That's
why I
right.
just, I think it's okay to
And
go
you didn't
back
make-
and make
you didn't make that wave.
recommendations.
I
Right.
did, because
Well, it's not just that. You know,
Well, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah, I still think we need to
It's been a
talk
whole
about
year. I
these
didn't
things
know it was a whole
regardless
year.
of your conversation with Elizabeth. I think we still need to put
Oh,
these two things
right.
in here.
Two different things.
That's what
One
I'm
is the
saying.
contract, the other
So-
is the-
Right, so do we need,
Okay, I had one more question.
Sure.
On the last page, it says laser printer.
yes,
Is that a laser
Yes.
printer in there?
and at $265 to get the
Yeah,
Toner
the
cartridge.
toner, which we don't budget for.
I don't know why we had to provide a laser printer, why we couldn't have just provided a printer.
Same with the envelopes that they have to have.
Well, you don't, there is nothing
I'm
in
joking.
here.
That
there's
says that, I
nothing
know.
in here about office supplies.
Right.
And that's a note I have.
Those are some of the expenses that we've incurred from my budget, our budget, select board, town hall, general expenses, toner for the printer, which we are required to provide.
Yeah.
But there are some other incidentals, accessories that that came up this year that I wasn't tracking that we would have to budget for, so.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we sign and return the engagement letter from Markham for FY25 accounting services from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, with the changes as listed here, in addition to go to the 3 weeks from the 1 week for a complaint.
Okay,
I think that was the only other addition we had.
yes.
Yeah.
Except we went to once a week instead of two.
Yeah, we got that
Yeah, those
already.
are the
Yep,
ones
that's
that
already
you
on
listed.
there. Yep.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
And then you guys will schedule a meeting to try
Yep.
to work out.
Well, she'll
And
talk
we
to
will-
Elizabeth, right, and then
Yeah.
we'll go from there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Second item under new business, super site shed at the transfer station. The Franklin County Solid Waste Management District Board voted unanimously on May 15th, 2024 to declare the paint shed located at the Bernardston transfer station as surplus property. The board instructed Jan Amin to offer to sell the shed as is to the town of Bernardston for $1,000. If the town does not want to purchase the shed, then Jan will offer it for $1,000 to the other 20-member towns. If no town wants the shed, then Jan will advertise the shed for sale to the public for $1,000. If there is not a public purchaser, then the shed will be demolished. The other option is for the town to reconsider and resume services as the super site. Brian Miner, Highway Department Superintendent, has pointed out that we did not budget any of this for fiscal year 25. The transfer station is now taking bulbs, as in electric light bulbs,
Right.
and residents have other ways of getting rid of oil and paint, so he recommends that we wait and reconsider resuming the super site services before finalizing the fiscal year 26 budget. Brian has created a new space for the bulbs in the electronics trailer, so we do not need to have two sheds. The shed that they're talking about
It's
is,
the one closest to where the gentlemen sit that work at the transfer station.
it used to be the old, where they had books.
Oil and paint.
Yeah, that's off
and
to
bulbs.
the, it's on the side, if you
Yes.
will, of,
Right, and you go.
And we moved
And
the
it's not-
bulbs to the electronics trailer.
it's not worth $100,
Right.
not $1,000.
Correct.
It's absurd to think that.
So, yeah.
And to have the town of Bernardston take on the burden of manning that site.
Right, we didn't
Once a-
budget for that.
Yeah, we had someone who was there once a month and
Right,
between 10 and 2 or something silly like that, to accept all of the paint and oil
Right.
and God knows what else. From all of any town, anybody could show up and leave their stuff, and we would accumulate it, and then,
But it wasn't paint and oil.
there was.
It was oil.
Yes, it was.
I put paint.
Paint,
Oh, yeah,
paint
yeah.
in there.
Well, I'll make a motion to,
Can I ask,
Go ahead.
who bought the shed?
Franklin
district.
County Solid Waste.
They must have
District.
supplied
They
it.
It's
own
their
it.
They
property.
supplied it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to deny the offer of the shed for the $1,000 from the solid waste district and to continue to have Brian reconsider the super site for FY24, just for the discussion.
26.
FY
26,
26.
thank you. FY26.
Do you want to make a counter offer of $100?
No,
it's not
I
even
don't want
worth
the
it.
shed.
He doesn't want the
Because
shed.
we'll have to demo it anyway. Not worth it. It's really not.
They want a shed for the tractor over at the school.
Oh, it's tiny.
They have
It's
to
just-
come
it's
buy it
just
then
a-
from Jan Amin.
All it is people who brought their
It's
paint
not
cans.
much
they
bigger
would
than these
store-
two tables.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
tiny.
For $1,000?
And it's,
I know.
Right.
I'm gonna second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, resignations. Eric Almeida, Historical Commission Chair. I would entertain a motion to accept the resignation from Eric Almeida with regret as the Bernardston Historical Commission Chair effective May 17th, 2024.
So moved.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unfortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
he
We could
was-
send him a letter like we usually do.
Of course.
Yes, that would be terrific.
I need to get better at that, like having him ready for this,
Yes.
but I will do
All
that.
right. Mildred Dwight, Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate of appreciation is proudly awarded to Mildred Dwight, known as Millie to anybody who knows her, for her invaluable services and contributions to the town of Bernardston. Her dedication, hard work, and generosity have made a significant impact, and we appreciate her service. Happy 90th birthday, Mildred, Millie. Respectfully, the town of Bernardston Select Board. So there's a certificate for each of
one
us
of
to
these.
sign
Yep.
in celebration, and Karen's doing a good job of anticipating this because she's not 90 yet.
No. Well, yeah, there was a request from the senior center. So.
And
Good.
happy birthday to Millie.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a
Happy
sweetie.
birthday.
Happy birthday, Millie.
And thanks for all you do.
Appointment orders. Jaden Hunter. I will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Jaden Hunter as a part-time temporary seasonal laborer for the town of Bernardston, effective June 9th through August 17th, 2024, with no change in his current hourly wage of $16.50, with a 3% increase after July 1st, 2024, maximum of 40 hours per week for 10 weeks from June 9th through August 17th. I'm not understanding this. He's already an employee. Why do we have to?
He's a transfer station employee, so during the summer hours, he's going to help do the grass cutting and help the highway department do some other things this
One of the
summer.
2 temp positions
Yeah.
that are in his
Oh.
budget.
Right.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment orders, the second one. Jennifer Stennis. I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Jennifer Stennis as the part-time summer camp director for the town of Bernardston, effective May 29th, 2024, with an hourly wage of $25 an hour, maximum of 50 hours per week for 9 weeks from June 10th through August 9th. No 3% increase after July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment order, River Kuhn. I will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of River Kuhn as the part-time assistant summer camp director for the town of Bernardston, effective May 29th, with an hourly wage of $20.50 an hour, with a maximum of 40 hours per week for 8 weeks from June 17th through August 9th, with no 3% increase after July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I note that the increase is already in there. That's why there's no increase.
Right.
on
Okay,
July
so
1st.
a clarification, if you would. That's very good.
And
Oh.
they're not part-time.
Because they're 40 hours a week
They're 40 hours a week for
for a period.
a period.
Thank
But
you.
they're not entitled to bennies.
Temporary
such.
employee.
It's a temporary employee, it's not a part-time.
Okay, miss, it's just a miss, I'll fix it. Thank you.
Do we need to
I'll
correct
fix
the
it.
motion?
Yeah, I'll redo them. Thank you.
Do we need to correct the motions or no?
Yeah, but I think the point.
Where does it say part-time in that? Did I read?
No, it doesn't.
I didn't. Oh, I did. So strike
Oh,
part-time
yeah,
and put
part-time you did.
temporary?
I would just say you're appointing them as the summer.
Assistant summer camp.
Summer camp director.
That's fine.
Could we correct those motions, both of them, just as is?
So corrected.
Okay. All those in favor of the corrections?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Good point. All right. This is one I'm going to need your help on, so if you can read along with us.
This is the Evantech one you're talking about.
Yes.
The long one or the
Old business, if you would. Old business, Advantech, preliminary proposal versus final proposal. After the town meeting, the town administrator contacted Advantech to let them know that the town approved the recurring IT maintenance package for $12,720, which is $1,060 each month for 12 months, submitted with their first quote. Advantech responded by saying that it seems that the preliminary proposal was mistakenly submitted for the town's vote rather than the complete final version they developed after the thorough walkthrough. Advantech is referring to the IT maintenance package of $17,844, which is $1,487 times 12 months, submitted with their last quote, a difference of $5,124. The final proposal presented by Advantech included essential services such as backup solutions and multi-factor authentication, which are crucial for the IT infrastructure's security and functionality. Advantech would like to know if the corrected services can be billed separately. I'm not sure that we can agree to this change because the town only approved the lower amount, voted that was its own separate warrant article. And I'm going to defer to Jane. Is there any way around this at all? And do we even want to? I'm just floored that it went up by, call it 50%.
But it didn't go up. You guys selected the first quote.
Yep.
I remember Chairman Garland at the time wanted the less expensive quote, which was
Yep.
from the very first proposal that they gave us before the walkthrough. So we added that to, and said this is the one we want. But you didn't really have a choice after we did the walkthrough with them. Then they prepared a brand new quote. They saw everything and walked through. And that's why they prepared that last quote that had the 1487.
Okay.
So we're the ones that ripped that off and stuck the 1060 there when really, so it wasn't that they changed
the
their
difficulty
figures.
comes is that the town has voiced their opinion at the annual meeting and said, we accept the 1,060
But
per
if you
month.
pay the difference in a different way now, up front.
If we paid for the backup solutions and multi-factor
Yeah,
authentication
separately,
or something like
and then you
ARPA.
honor the town vote by 12, for FY25.
Is that going to get us into trouble? I mean,
Really?
we convinced the town to go ahead with this, and now we're changing the deal on them. I'm uncomfortable.
But the fee, the FY25
yeah,
budget is not
I don't look at it
effective.
as us changing the deal. I understand what you're saying, though. It almost doesn't seem right. At the same time, I guess we misinformed the town the amount.
Okay.
Right.
I'm all right with
Where's
that.
the original quote?
Right, the original, you have in front of you the walkthrough quote right here.
I'm asking where's the original?
The original quote's off the table, though. It's not something they would consider.
I know. I still want to see it.
You have it. This is
This is the, after the walkthrough.
Right.
I wanted to see the wording on the original quote. You're asking me for a loophole. Let
I'm
me
going
see
to get
the
it right
original
now.
quote.
I didn't bring that with me.
This whole thing moved too fast, and I think we said that in finance, that we were moving too fast on it. We weren't taking time to read it carefully. And maybe that's why we're having this discussion.
There was
tonight.
also, Stan was pretty adamant that we're going to do the lowest of the low and learn from our process and perhaps change it in the future.
Right, I do remember that.
But 2 months later, I mean, it's less than 2 months since the annual meeting.
Well, but Karen supplied, I just had it here, emails discussing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
catching you unaware like this, does it make sense to table this for 2 weeks?
How soon do they have to have an answer?
Don't know.
I don't think it's that quick.
Well, you paid for part of this out of ARPA funds. What did you already buy from them?
This is the $50,000 grant, remember?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So we haven't paid it
yeah, none of our money.
yet. And I don't know that we've advanced anything. Have we advanced any money to Advantech, Karen?
No.
I don't think so.
So out of the grant, it's gonna come this 44,000. Is that what?
Yeah, it's actually 48,000.
Yeah, it's spitting distance of 50.
Oh,
They
well,
they
that's-
found a way to spend all of the 50. No surprise there.
Yeah,
They all did, all the different bidders. Entree.
not surprising.
Is it inappropriate, Karen, to table this for 2 weeks? Bring it back up on, are we against the timeline?
We are against the timeline. The grant's only good till, I don't know how long this is gonna take, so I think it's June of next year, but
So we got loads of, I'm just thinking till the next select board meeting. Give Jane a chance to,
It's all right, if you don't mind, while I
do you wanna go to another topic and come back to it? You wanna finish
We
up
could.
everything and we'll come back to it at the end?
sure, how about that? Let's move on to the next topic and come back to it. Softball field expenses clarification. Back in March 2024, there was a discussion about converting the baseball field into a softball field to avoid having to move the dugouts. The understanding was that it would cost approximately $1,500 for the infield material to make the change. Additionally, the rec department budgeted $2,500 in fiscal year 2022 for Pratt Field maintenance specifically cited for the softball field. However, according to a copy of the rec budget dated February 27th, 24, there was no money budgeted in fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, or fiscal year 25 for Pratt Field maintenance. As of fiscal year 24, Pratt Field maintenance falls under the responsibility of the Highway Operations and Maintenance Department. So that's just clarifying.
The background, that's the backdrop.
Yeah. So there's no vote needed, it's just more informational that we read on. Go ahead.
I object.
Okay, please.
Every year, we vote $1,000 from the Kiwanis Fund into a fund that's called something and field maintenance.
Okay.
Brian, help me.
I wish I could. I don't remember what it's called.
There was that line item.
And I recommended when the gravel came along to
Use that fund?
use that. It
Yeah.
was not used. You chose to go to your little piggy bank and spend it out of there.
Out of ARPA?
Yes.
Well, it's a parking lot, it's not field maintenance.
Right.
So I forgot, I didn't bring the financial reports with me tonight, but there's money in there. Whether there's enough to do that conversion or not, I don't know. But maintaining that field should not be transferred to the highway department, if that's what I just heard you say.
Well, they did the
They
work.
might do the work.
They did the work and bought the materials, so the money has to get to the highway department's budget somehow.
If they buy the materials, it can be billed to the recreation fund that I just mentioned.
And they don't have enough money, even if the full 1,000 is there. Because it's $1,500.
Well, there's more than that in that account.
It's built up over time?
It builds up over time, because they haven't used it. And that's why I said the $3,000 for the gravel could come out of that account, because at that time I had the financial reports in front of me, and I looked, and there was enough to cover the gravel.
Okay. The man hours.
The man hours,
They'll go to the highway.
still goes to highway.
But
But,
Paying
and I
for-
think this is the way it's been done in the past. The material comes out of rec.
fine by me.
Was it a few years ago
We
that
aligned the facilities and maintenance.
they
under
redid the
job
softball
description.
field? They went up to and got the,
I'm sorry.
a few years ago, they redid the softball field. They went up to New Hampshire and picked up the soil or whatever it was they were using there. I remember purchasing, I think, the bases and the insets and things like that. All that material should have been billed to that fund, the Kiwanis Recreation Fund.
I
through the
think we
rec
appropriated, more money that year to be able to do that.
And if that was not paid for out of that fund, then there's more than enough money.
Yeah, that's
in
what I was
that
asking in
fund.
an email,
The
yeah.
20, right, that's what I looked up, and that's what the only thing I could find off of budgets that I had was what you read.
If you try to look at recreation budgets to figure this out,
Good luck.
you are not gonna figure it out.
That I would agree with.
We'd have to go to Markham sheets to see.
Yeah.
Markham probably can't do it because I don't know if they can
So
get
they'll table
ATL
this.
reports
Back to,
back.
I think that might have expired, their look
Well,
back.
Yeah, we probably needed another year on that.
If we need more time to figure it out, that's fine. too.
But even in this year's budget, the rec has $1,000 that's a standard line item for field
Right.
maintenance
Yes.
and equipment
For this last year, yeah.
every year.
Every
That's gonna
year it goes
continue.
in there, and every year, whatever the balance is, rolls over.
That's not gonna be something Brian has access to. You
No, I understand that, but I guess okay.
know what I'm saying? He's responsible for the labor.
He has to essentially bill the material
Right,
to the.
So we're all in agreement.
right.
Right, and the new thing of him being responsible doesn't mean that
Rec
he's
can spend it,
responsible
right.
for the equipment
Material.
or the
No, right.
material or the
Fair enough.
part that has to be replaced.
Agreed. All right. Other business, time of posting, update fiscal year 24 congressionally directed spending, CDS, congressionally directed spending for the town of Bernardston. On Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, the Select Board and the Bernardston Fire Station Building Committee agreed to utilize the CDS, congressionally directed spending, funds for the acquisition of the property that will house the new fire station by submitting an application that does not involve construction. It is for the purpose of acquiring the land and building. The USDA Area Director, Ann Coria, forwarded a non-construction type application which the town has begun reviewing and completing. So that's just an update. We're doing everything we can in our power to secure this USDA congressionally directed spending to the tune of exactly $1 million. Karen is actively completing that application for the funds to use the correct wording, which is to acquire the property as opposed to construct the fire station. So it's a subtle change, but the USDA Area Director, Ann Coria, is in agreement with the Fire Department Building Committee, the Select Board, to make that change and make that happen so that we get the funds in order to acquire the property. Dredging at Cushman Park, the next business unknown at time of posting. As a refresher, Northeast Land and Water, LLC, prepared a notice of intent in 2012 for the town of Bernardston with the Conservation Commission and the Mass DEP so the town could obtain the proper permitting. This goes back 2012, so 12 years ago. So the town could obtain the proper permitting to dredge the brook at Cushman Park. We are at a point where this work needs to be done again. In January 2024, the town administrator and the highway superintendent, Brian Miner, began working with Mr. Ward Smith of Wendell Wetlands to see if he could renew or update the 2012 notice of intent and file for required permits on the town's behalf with the Conservation Commission and the DEP. Mr. Ward stated that he would have to do a site plan once the snow melted in order to see if anything had changed from the 2012 notice of intent. On May 20th, 2024, Mr. Ward met with Brian Miner at the dredging site, and on May 21st, 2024, he sent an email to the town administrator saying that the dredging area had changed and it was not the same as it was previously filed for in 2012. Therefore, a new notice of intent has to be completed. Mr. Ward recommended contacting Northeast Survey Consultants to work with us to accomplish that. I would entertain a motion to authorize the town administrator to contact Northeast Survey Consultants for a quote to complete the notice of intent on the Cushman Park dredging project, or authorize the town administrator to ask the Conservation Commission for an emergency authorization to dredge Cushman Park, dredge the brook at Cushman Park. I would prefer the first one, just get us a quote.
Yeah.
So
I'll make a motion for the town administrator to contact Northeast Survey Consultants for a quote to complete the notice of intent on the Cushman Park dredging project.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye. And there's still a grant possibly for
Yes,
that too.
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about here.
Yes.
This notice of intent needs to be redone.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're right, the grant, but I think we filed saying that this would be.
Did he say what changed?
The sediment, and there's a map in your book that
Okay.
shows, he did a little sketch of,
Okay.
but he said the sediment buildup was not where it says it was, so he can't really,
I
You know.
see. Yep.
Gotcha.
so.
Silliness, but that's okay. Did I say that?
You did.
Time
Keep you
off.
posted on the grant, though,
All
yes,
right.
Brian.
Time off request. There's a
Yep, did
time
you
off
see it?
request. I would entertain a motion to approve the time off request for an employee.
I'll make a motion to approve the time off request for the employee as noted on the document.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Fiscal year 25 salaries and hourly rates. Please refer to the spreadsheet prepared by Jane Dutcher, Finance Committee Chair, and the Treasurer Susan Bobet. The spreadsheet represents the fiscal year 25 salaries and wages for the town of Bernardston employees based on the fiscal year 25 budget presented and approved at the annual meeting held on April 29th, 2024. So we just need to sign that to acknowledge that.
Yeah, Susan's asking you for your signature at the bottom of
Right.
the memo.
I don't know if she changed the one salary that you've changed since annual meeting or not. I don't have my notes with me.
Ooh, good question.
But I was told that was not a financial
I looked at it online.
consideration.
Is
so-
it in here?
Yeah. The what,
The one that we adjusted.
I'm sorry, what do we,
We're talking about the salaries.
right,
We made an adjustment to one individual's salary.
oh, right, it's probably not in there then, Jane's right. The one about from the transfers,
It's
yeah.
gonna be paid differently, so it shouldn't be on this document.
Okay.
At least that's my
Oh, that's
opinion.
right, yeah, it's,
What-
this is our
what-
budget,
what-
well,
the
Not a
purpose of that
guarantee going
document.
forward.
It's not an hourly rate?
It's not a guarantee, it's a set amount for just the fiscal year, and it's not a guarantee it's gonna be going forward.
But it's
In the future.
payroll.
It is payroll, but
And that's what that document is. The
it's
purpose of
broken
that.
out differently though.
right,
That hourly rate for that extra 10 grand is in a different spot.
oh, that part of it, yeah, right. Right,
So for your budgeting purposes, this number is right.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in there or not.
Okay, so coming back to the Advantech issue, do you still need more time? I don't want to put you under
I,
pressure.
what do you mean you don't?
I don't.
She loves it.
I don't. She loves it, but I don't. I wouldn't want to do it.
I think that you should make a motion to request, to submit a request to the Finance Committee for $5,124 from the reserve fund to meet this obligation that you entered into too casually.
okay.
I'll make that motion as Jane stated it.
And I would add,
Other than the two casualty.
I would add that that's a request to the full committee. I do not guarantee what the vote of the committee
You
would
could,
be.
yeah.
Right. I can't, I don't know.
That's
But-
workable.
But that's the only thing I can think of as a possibility to cover this.
And it just so
difference.
happens that we have a
Meeting on
finance committee
Monday.
coming up next Monday.
Is it okay to add it to that agenda at the beginning?
No. The agenda's already posted, and I do have an item on there for
Can't be other business and
other business.
Can it be other business?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
So-
whatever that is.
So you
Okay.
could consider it.
On Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I have it by then.
What do I, yeah, I'm not sure what I have to prepare, but I'll figure it out.
Jane has a form.
Yeah.
Oh, she'll give it to me. She
And
might not give it to me.
I might not.
Okay,
All right,
You
well, that
skipped
would-
over me, I had a,
Okay, no,
I'm
as in
really
we have
sorry.
a, no.
This is one day where, probably, last week would've been better.
So
to skip.
with that, that resolves that issue, the Advantech
Well,
potentially resolves it.
potentially.
Thank you.
I'll give that back to you.
Yep. So now we have, to wrap up the meeting, just before wrapping up, the town administrator report.
Okay, so I'll cut some things out. Anyway,
Don't.
MassDOT will be holding a virtual design public hearing on Wednesday, July 17th at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a Zoom meeting to discuss the upcoming bridge and overpass replacement project.
Is that a select board night?
No, it is not a select board meeting.
When-
It's their meeting, they're just, again, it's Wednesday, July 17th at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a Zoom virtual meeting to discuss the upcoming bridge and overpass replacement project over Interstate 91. This is the initial presentation of a 25% of the design being done. That's a requirement of MassDOT to do this. The public hearing will be advertised in the Greenfield Recorder and be posted as an open meeting hosted by MassDOT, but it's not a select board meeting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right.
And it'll be Zoom? is it?
Yes, ma'am.
So who could join? Anybody?
Anybody.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
So the town,
You
if
probably have to register.
Yeah, it'll come out with instructions on how to do all that.
this
And I
is
want-
the bridge over,
Over 91.
91.
Yes.
yes.
And this gentleman also had a nice conversation with Craig White, so that's real good.
Good.
Yes.
Craig's probably, kind of on board with.
How it worked? Do you,
Yeah, it's very good. So,
because I don't know whether you guys heard. I had a conversation with Craig, and he had a conversation with a fellow from Mass DOT,
Right.
and they said the changes are that they're going to move the sidewalk to the other side of the street from Hillside Pizza, so it doesn't impact his parking
Right.
situation at all. In fact, Craig warned us that sidewalk is going to go all the way up, and it's going to create an issue for the parking on Route 5, Church Street, and it's all of a sudden, according to Craig, going to be enforced, the no parking on
well,
Church Street.
I think that's why the July 17th meeting, we can maybe ask those
We have to be
questions.
careful that they're going to, I don't know who's going to enforce the no parking, but being a state road, it would presumably be the state police, but I don't think they give out parking tickets. But
Okay.
that means
They
you
do.
and you and you, who are all parked in front of the town hall,
Park at Ken's
are
house.
going to get towed.
That's why I have had a lot of finance committee meetings at the police station.
We may have to find other accommodations.
Well, we have a senior center, which has two nice
Beautiful thing,
rooms.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Tyler, move over there.
All right.
He's
Just a couple
been,
more
he's been there a
things.
couple times.
Yes, indeedy, and he will be again.
I'm not inviting him this time.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead, keep, I interrupted
No,
you.
I'm good.
Don't-
The Eden
don't-
Bridge, the work at Eden Trail Bridge was completed last Thursday, May 16th, so Brian's
if-
going to sort out the invoicing and submit for a transfer of funds because he's paid for all of that.
And
out
I
of his
believe it's
budget,
going to
so-
come in lower than what
Yeah,
we
yeah,
originally
yeah.
thought.
Oh,
What
it's
I-
definitely, you finished my
Yeah.
sentence.
Oh.
It's definitely under what we
Yeah.
estimated. And the dugouts at Pratt Field are full
I
steam ahead.
I gotta say, the highway department should be commended for the work that they were waist deep
Oh, no,
in
water.
water, cold
Yeah.
water, and pouring concrete that sets underwater and throwing 50-pound bags of
120 of them.
120 saturated
Yeah, he
bags.
came in here one after working
Oh,
one
my
day,
God.
and he looked pretty. And he was
Yeah.
kind of. I've never seen him flinch.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what's
That's
wrong
the
with
next
you?
day, too, yeah. It's an Advil day.
So, and then dugouts at Pratt Field, both doing real good. I talked to Justin Lawrence, and so that looks like they'll be complete the building of the wooden frames by the 6th of June. So that's good. And then
We should take some pictures and put it up on the website.
yeah, we could
Action
do that.
photos.
We could do that.
That's a good idea.
I'm trying to rush along because I know we went long. So I got an email. I emailed Michael Baldino. He is the direct and general counsel for the Massachusetts Broadband about the invoice. That's who they put me in contact with. So Michael said that they're waiting to invoice the town until they receive grant requisition amounts that equal or exceeded the 60 grand that the town's obligated to pay. He said, but they should be sending an invoice to the town within the next few weeks.
Good.
So we'll get that done before.
So we have to pay 60 and then we get a grant
that's
back?
an earmark from our ARPA funds,
Yep.
the
Okay.
60 grand. And then last but not least, based on our conversation at the joint meeting with the Finance Committee on May 13th, I did ask Tony Roselli if the financial audit included a review or maybe a deep dive in some of our departments that handle a lot of cash. And Mr. Roselli responded by saying that before the audit ends, he will conduct an inquiry with the treasurer and the tax collector, which is kind of a routine thing. However, as far as doing a deep dive, he was thinking that in the off year of the normal budget that the normal audit that we're going through now, like in between next time, he could, he said putting aside 10 grand, 3,000 per department, something like that, he could maybe work something out and do a deep dive, have George come back, George who was here before, and he could do that in between this audit and our next big audit 3 years from now.
We have 2 departments that handle a lot of cash.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the collector or the
No,
clerk.
we had talked about the senior center and the recreation department.
Yeah.
His suggestion is
And
to
to
do
have
some internal solo
appropriate
reviews.
controls.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what we
definitely
wanna-
about reviewing for internal controls, because that's what I specifically asked him about, that identifying those kind of things, not for anything that were, but just how we could do that better. So he recommends putting aside 10K over a 2-year period, and he could probably get to those apartments and some smaller ones like police, library, and town clerk. He added that.
Police doesn't have
But
cash.
yeah,
Library.
he's just was throwing it
Pennies,
out
overdue
That's all I
fines. They'll
have.
even collect overdue fines.
I didn't realize.
there. That's all I have.
$20,000 he wants to do 3
10, yeah, he said 10 grand in 2 years. He said to me, but I remember him saying it's three grand
3,000.
for a department.
That might be more than we can handle. The other possibility is to ask Markham, because Markham does audits. They just can't audit us because they do our
But they could do
accounting.
an audit on the department.
They want
No,
more than 3,000.
who knows? We could ask them and say,
Okay.
is there
I
some
just want
guidance you can give us as far as the handling of cash? Give me a pro forma, what you have
That's
your,
kind of something Kristen could do when she's here more often. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about
yeah.
too with Mark.
Give us some kind of
If she was here more often, we could do internal control stuff.
internal control sheet
Yeah,
that,
That's not in their contract.
it's not. I know.
I know, this is
just
to be
wish
a
it
step
was. Yeah.
out of their role as accountants and just give
Yeah,
us.
there's gotta be standard guidelines, right?
Yeah,
you're
that's what I'm
right?
saying.
You
is
could
that-
squeeze that kind of work into the lingo that's written now somehow. Kind of.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:11.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank